Welcome to Between the Panels. Prepare to Die, featuring the Swamp Thing.
Oh no! Your favorite superhero died! No, he didn't. No, wait, he did. No, he didn't. What's going on? We'll find out.
Where in the Bible does it say the specter is responsible for the death of the firstborn child into Egypt? We debate.
Welcome to Between the Panels. Here's your first segment at the Comic Stand.
Welcome to the Comic Stand. I'm Nick Lehman.
I'm Katie Bavoso.
And I'm Ricky Shu. We debate Swamp Thing issues 9, 10, and 13.
These comics were so graciously given to us by the local comic book store.
That's what it's called.
The
comic book store in Glassboro, New Jersey. So if you don't know where it is, you're an idiot. Anyway, so let's talk about this comic, guys. This was introduced to me for the first time for this show.
Me too.
And I think it's pretty sweet. It's not your typical story following your typical superhero. It's really interesting. It seems very post-apocalyptic, which we all know, like, I'm totally gung-ho about. So what do you think? Like, by the way, I'm working with Nick and Rick today. So I'm Katie. It's going to be fun. Nick.
Nope. Yeah,
tell me. Tell me what you think.
The interesting part I find about the Swamp Thing is that he's not a superhero. He's a super being, a superhuman. He doesn't fight exactly for the good of mankind, and you can see it. He just cares about nature and preserving the world as it is, which is interesting because it conflicts with, you know, people like Batman, who is watching over Gotham City, which is a city industrialization, and just he clashes a lot with a lot of superheroes.
We had the previous issues leading up to these is he is so reluctant to become Swamp Thing, and you know I've made comparisons when I'm reading these. He's a lot like when you look at Aang from Avatar: Last Airbender and how reluctant he was to become who he was. But that you lead up for 6 or 8 issues, and he finally becomes him, and it's such this great moment when you find him see all the grass take him over, and now you have this adventure that he's doing where he has to battle the Rot. Rot, his enemy, led by Arcane, and it's really nasty.
So gross.
So let's just go over the basic synopsis of each comic book. It starts with 9, and that we just hop right into the struggle between the Rot and the Swamp Thing. He's fighting.
He's fighting his love, really.
Yeah.
It's weird. In issue 9, the Rot completely takes over Abigail Arcane, who is she's been sired by the Rot, actually, as a baby. She was shown to have a lot of potential to become evil, but she wasn't that kind of person. And she chooses to be with the Green and against the Rot, but the Rot is always after her. So she has the ability to be either one, but she chooses the good side. And she's actually taken over by the Rot in this issue, and it's really, like, awfully graphic. What did you guys think about that? She's just this huge black thing, and they call her Queen of the Rot, and she's going after the Swamp Thing like he's just a rag doll. It's really terrible.
The interesting thing is he doesn't fight back because he loves Abigail Arcane, so he will not fight her, and he's just trying to kind of convince her to be not the Queen of the Rot.
And he gets stabbed in the process.
And he gets his arm ripped off.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of stuff that happens to him. He's got, her claws are clearly through his body. He gets his horns, which I really like, because I really want horns. He gets his horns ripped off, and it looks like he's just being beaten to a pulp. I just think, like, I don't know how he came out of that, but he seems to be able to.
It's such an interesting concept when you look at the writing and the style of this. Scott Snyder also writes the New 52's Batman. Complete contrast in the storytelling. And you talked about Batman earlier, and it's so dark. It lives up to everything the New 52 wants to do in their dark saga, which consists of, the John Constantines, Animal Man, and your Phantom Stranger. And it's just, as you look at this, little girl is getting eaten on an airplane by some deformed creation of the imagination. And it's crazy.
You're like, what kind of crazy hippie came up with the idea to show like technical gasoline-based creatures and rotting creatures just devouring, not even devouring, but like inhabiting the bodies of people on a plane, including like this child. It was such a graphic scene where her grandfather is taken over and becomes this monster and just starts pouring like black rot into her throat, and you're just like, oh.
But anyway, continuing on from that long tangent, we go back to the fight, and he somehow gets through to Abigail, and she just sheds the Queen of Rot. She just becomes, she's like, no, I'm not it, and banishes
He puts
it.
seeds in the peaches.
From the previous issue, he had they had eaten peaches at a market while they were fighting the rot, and this is when William Arcane's.
But basically, like he puts the peaches in the seeds in there, and that reminds her of being with the green.
So
Yes.
fast forward really quickly. He saves her. She spends this entire issue trying to get him back to his home or her home in the swamp. He goes to sleep to recover, and then Anton Arcane, an avatar of the rot, kills him. And then in that one,
He's back.
he's back. Swamp Thing's back,
It's
but
a
the
year
world is
later.
over.
It's a year later, and the world is over. It's
But
after
anyway,
the
if you had to
apocalypse.
give it a rating, what would you say out of?
For each one or together?
Let's just go collective.
Together. Tell us.
Together?
Rick.
As a collective story.
Well, you
Tell
see,
us.
I've read the whole series as of now. Overall, it's one of the best title in the New 52, and I know last episode we did, the New 52 is, it is what it is. Swamp Thing is one of the better ones out there, and I'm going to say, if we had to go out of 5, I'm going to go say these 3, 4 out of 5 for me.
You think so?
I think so. With the way it's leading up to, and it's also because of the way I've been reading these previous and future.
Rick apparently just loves the Swamp Thing. See you
I love
soon.
the Swamp Thing.